Before we get into the legal back and forth, this is the bombshell that immediately grabs attention. The defense is raising the possibility that a weapon connected to the Murdaugh murders may also be linked to another homicide. But notice the careful wording here. This is an allegation and an investigative lead, not a proven fact. If the ballistic evidence really connects these cases, the implications could be enormous. So the big question is this a genuine forensic connection, or is the defense chasing information that hasn't been verified?
Through reporting from Fitz News that there was a recent murder, we believe, in Allendale County. And what has come out of that investigation and what has been leaked to the press is that Murdaugh murder weapons were connected to the Allendale County murder. Now, how could that be? And so we would like to know, were Murdaugh murder weapons connected to this Allendale murder? Now, if Your Honor, we'll get into this, you'll learn that the SLED agent ballistic forensic lab did an analysis of just the shell casings on the 300 blackout that was used to murder Maggie Murdaugh. And the ballistics expert testified that the extraction marks on those shell casings found at the murder scene matched extraction marks found on shell casings around the Moselle home and at a shooting range. And their analysis was, in his opinion, it was the same gun that injected the shell casings of the 300 blackout at the house, at the driving range, and at the murder scene. Which leads us to, I mean, we don't know if it was the same murder weapon in Allendale, but if they did an analysis of the shell casings in the Allendale murder case, and they're saying it matches the shell casings for the Murdaugh murders, either their test is bad or someone's out there using a gun to murder other people. And so we would like that information. And then there's generally, we are aware that SLED has received tips, because we've received tips. We've not been provided any information about tips of whether it's reliable or not, identifying anyone else other than Alec Murdaugh participating in the murders. We've not received any information. Have they found the murder weapons? Have they found the murder weapons since the last trial? And there's related information underlying all of those. And so we don't think the state is taking their obligation seriously enough to find out what Brady materials out there has been developed and what Giglio material out there has been developed. And this is what we are aware of today, but we don't have the benefit, and we don't have the ability to contact law enforcement and get this information. So those are our concerns.
Okay. Mr. Waters, let me hear from you on the Giglio.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I want to say we take our obligations very seriously.
I know you do.
And have never had a problem. This is the first they've raised these specific issues. They could have given me a call, and if I ever discovered anything of importance, they're the first people that I call, and that's always been our practice. As to Giglio, as to Eddie Smith, they, of course, there is no cooperation agreement. I don't have any secret agreements. If I had any agreement with the individual, I would disclose that to him. They have all the witness statements. They have the state grand jury testimony. They've had every bit of information that we have on, and every bit of discovery that we have on Eddie Smith. And there are no secret agreements. And if I do ever engage in agreement with any witness, I will disclose that immediately to the defense. I understand that obligation very well.
Right.
As to
And those cases are still pending.
That's correct. Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, Your Honor. As to Colucci and Kelly, we are all aware of our Giglio obligations. And as far as the Colucci matter, the judge, as I understand it, I wasn't involved in that matter, but ultimately dismissed that indictment just without prejudice, just to allow some additional information to be presented back to the grand jury that the individual said that he forgot, but there was no finding that he misrepresented anything. I have made inquiry, and I am not aware in any HR file of a finding of dishonesty or anything like that that would ultimately trigger Giglio. I have made those inquiries and I will renew those inquiries, and if anything is applicable there, I will immediately provide that to the defense, as we do every law enforcement witness in the case. The same thing with the termination of Ryan Kelly from Charleston. My understanding is
SLED agent.
He was a SLED agent. He went to Charleston County Sheriff's Office. And, you know, deputies served at will, and he was terminated. But the inquiries I've made, and my understanding is that none of that had anything to do with dishonesty or falsification of reports or anything that would go to Giglio, that they were personnel matters. I will, of course, re-verify that, and if there's anything that needs to be provided in that regard, I will, of course, provide that to the defense. But that is my understanding at this time. And again, we always renew our Giglio inquiries for any law enforcement witness that testifies as we move to trial. And obviously, if anything's forthcoming, we'll provide that. But those issues are not there. As to tips, we provided a lot of that information before. But as I said, this case was tried, over 3.5 years ago. And so we are in the process of, correlating. Heck, I get emails from all over the world to this day, but we characterize or categorize those, and there will be any sort of information, no matter how fanciful and far-fetched, and that'll be provided to the defense as well. And so again, that, as you recognize and as we recognize, that obligation is ongoing. We take it seriously, and anything that has developed since that time, we will make sure to provide to that defense. We are constantly always doing discovery audits and discovery checks.
The prosecution's response is essentially, we're not hiding anything, and if something qualifies as Brady or Giglio material, we'll turn it over. That's important because the obligation can continue as new information develops. But here's the interesting part: thousands of tips can come in, and not every wild claim becomes evidence. The real issue is whether any of those tips contain information that could actually matter legally. Do you think the defense has uncovered a legitimate discovery issue, or are they still working with too many unanswered questions?
All right, well, tell me about the Allendale with
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
the murder weapons.
That's the first I've heard of that. I have never heard the first thing about that. If somebody told me that they had matched that to the murder weapon, not only the first call again I would be making would be to them, and the second call I'd be making would be to Your Honor. That is the first I've heard of that. I've never read the Fitz article. Certainly nobody at SLED, who I communicate with on a daily basis, has said, hey, Creighton, by the way.
And there it is, the moment the courtroom temperature changes. The prosecutor says this is the first he's heard of the alleged ballistic connection. That doesn't prove the report is false. It means the claim has not been verified by the prosecutor at this point. And that distinction is huge. A headline, podcast, or leaked report can spark questions. But courtroom evidence requires something much more concrete.
X happened, so I will certainly look into that, but I would be flabbergasted to find out that actually had happened and no one had advised this office of that.
Okay. All right. I hope that answers your questions. He's going to get back with you. He's going to double check on Agent Kelly, but to his understanding, there was no dishonesty, but that would raise the bar to Giglio.
Yeah.
But he's going to get back with you. As far as the murder in Allendale with the murder weapons, you certainly raised my eyebrows on that.
Your Honor, throughout this case, Fitz News has been breaking stories that we were unaware of, and we can go through a long litany of that. But there was a podcast. There's a reference to what I just said to you.
Maybe you could forward that to Ms.
Notice what the judge does here. She doesn't simply accept the media report as fact, and she doesn't dismiss it either. Instead, she's directing the issue toward verification. That's a very courtroom-style approach. Check the underlying source, determine whether there's something substantive, and then decide what, if anything, needs to be disclosed. This is also why evidence matters more than speculation. A report saying a match exists is one thing. The actual forensic records are another.
Mr. Waters and let him look at it and see if there's anything to it.
But we would ask that they look into that.
and I'll be the first to say, Your Honor, is that I don't watch the podcasts and I don't read the blogs. I try to base what I'm doing on the evidence and not on speculation that's out there in the media. But I've never heard of that thing, and I will make inquiries. But it would blow my mind if something like that had happened in SLED and not call me. I communicate them daily. Their general counsel sitting here in the gallery here today.
Okay.
But, and Your Honor, we would ask for the underlying documents on the Colucci matter involving, judge's ruling, anything that was filed.